it's just an example. Purdue losing to Fresno State is okay. We still win the Big Ten West.
Really, Napier gets fired. I'm just kidding.
Really the best time of the year. I will be seated watching Red Zone for 7 hours on Sunday. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to an episode of Backyard Banter. Johnny, James, Tanner. It's that time. It's football season time. Well, not quite yet, but we're going to start previewing and predicting every college football conference and every NFL division. This is kind of cool for us because when we started this a year ago is when we started predicting all this stuff, as we're almost at a year doing this, which is kind of crazy if you guys think about it. But we're here. How you guys doing before we get into the ACC first?
Man,
Doing good.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, this is the best topic for me to talk about. I love this. I love, especially when we were back in person, predicting the results and whatnot on Tanner's computer. Like it was a lot of fun. So
Oh yeah, we got to run that again this year.
yeah.
But so like I said, we're gonna do ACC first. Obviously, there's only a Power 4 conference now. Rip the Pac-12, but we'll get into some others. I don't know where we're gonna fit Notre Dame in, James, if we're gonna do them with Big Ten or whatever. I mean, they could just have their own segment also. But
They can have their own show. They can have their own show. So
first, I don't know if you guys saw. So I listened to Josh Pate almost every episode. He's like the college football guy. So yeah, he's the GOAT. And I don't know, Tanner, if you listened to one of his more recent ones, but he said that there are some big names, aka Florida State and Clemson, and the Florida State trying to get out of the TV deal now and trying to move conferences. And I know they just signed a new TV deal, so that would be, if they were able to get out of that, that would be insane. But let's stop all the weirdness for now and 12-team playoff and all that stuff. But we'll get into the ACC, and I'll kind of start. I think that there's a clear top 3 in the ACC. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. For those of you who don't know, that Cal and Stanford and SMU are also in the ACC this year, if it wasn't weird enough. Stanford will be playing a game looking at that Atlantic Ocean, which blows my mind. But, yeah, I mean, do you guys agree? Top 3 of Florida State, Clemson, and Miami, and whatever kind of order?
yeah, I agree with that. But the thing is, there's 1A and 1B. Like there's only 2 teams, in my opinion, in this conference that I think can win it. But that's just my take. I'm interested to see what Teaser thinks on who he thinks. Is he got the wolf pack just climbing up there? Or?
So I've got 3 teams as well that I think can win it.
I also have 2 sleepers.
I don't have Clemson in my top 3. I actually have 3 teams making the playoff. I will say 2 of them are Miami and Florida State. Before we go into who I have as my champion, though, I'd like to save a team.
I just think
I already know who's going to pick.
First of all, I just think for the ACC, I mean, we're going to go into their schedules. They're not going to get 3 teams in simply because of how bad their schedules are. So I'll give you guys a sneak peek. And one of my sleepers is Syracuse. Let me read you their schedule. This is a Power 4 team now, Syracuse. They play Ohio at home, Georgia Tech at home, Stanford at home, Holy Cross at home, at UNLV, at NC State, at Pitt, versus Virginia Tech, at Boston College, at Cal, versus UConn, and versus Miami.
Wow.
That is, you have to go undefeated or 1 loss to make the playoff. And I don't think the ACC has the level of scheduling that the Big Ten has or the SEC has. For example, if Syracuse were to go 11-1 and Florida were to go 8-4, Florida would be more deserving to be in the playoff. Or who else? Who else has a crazy schedule? Or if Texas A&M goes 9-3, Texas A&M would be more deserving to go in the playoff because, I mean, some of these schedules is just insane, like insanely bad. And shout out to the top 3, the big dogs in the ACC. They're all going out of conference and playing someone. Like Clemson opens up against Georgia, like that's a huge game. And they'll always close the season with South Carolina. Both Florida State and Miami play Florida. So
Florida State plays Notre Dame too. So yeah,
Florida State. That's another one. Florida State plays Notre Dame. So I think it'll be very hard to get 3 teams in with those kind of schedules because SEC is going to get at least 4 teams in my opinion, just because it's the SEC. Big Ten is at least going to get 3 or 4 teams in just because it's the Big Ten, and then Big 12 and ACC are guaranteed 1. I mean, how many does that leave you? And then the Group of 5 is guaranteed 1. So I don't know. We'll see. It'll definitely be interesting. But James, run us through your top three if you have any sleepers.
Yeah, so I mean, my top three, and I am amazed that Tanner can sit there and say that Clemson's not in his top three, but um, I have Florida State upper hand over Clemson. I think it comes down for me the transfer portal. Like I think these are two, programs that recruit at the highest level, but Florida State has an ability. I mean, they just hit transfer portal after transfer portal, and it's incredible. And Clemson hasn't done that yet. I think Clemson takes a big step this year. Now you have some veteran leadership, but it's all up to player development, right? Because they're not hitting the portal. It all comes down to player development. So there's no way Clemson cannot be in your top three, Tanner. Like you probably have Louisville in there. I think that's your. I think that's your
Clemson
pick.
had a down year in what, won 10 games? Or how many
Yeah,
did they win last year? 9 games?
I think they went like eight or nine wins in the regular
9
season.
wins.
but
Yeah,
now
I don't
you.
know.
Yeah, I don't know. Now you get a Cade Klubnik back, kind of deal. I think he's gonna, maybe take a step. So
You better take a step. I'll
he
tell
has
you
to.
what.
So I think Florida State one, Clemson two, and I have Miami three. I think it's a clear three. I'm very curious to see where Teaser fits those teams, and so I'm gonna pass the floor to Tanner because I am so curious.
Yeah, well, for me with Clemson, part of it is Dabo just refusing to hit the portal. He's stuck in 2016 through 2019, and it's just not that era anymore. So for that, I just don't believe in Clemson. And then you add in that their schedule, right? Like they go to Georgia week one. I think they're going to get absolutely waxed week one.
Well, that
And
game is neutral site. It's technically in Atlanta, which, by the way, neutral site games are so stupid. Atlanta and
right,
Sanford are like within an hour and a half of each other.
Yeah.
Just freaking go to Sanford Stadium.
Yeah.
I agree, but I still think they're going to get waxed.
Yeah.
And then I look at their ACC schedule, and they play every good like team in the ACC this year. So for that reason, I have them finishing in the 4th to 5th range in the ACC. Actually, my ACC champion, guys, bear with me. My ACC champion, I'm all in on this. Much like I was like the Oakland Athletics over wins, like I think I'm on this type of level with it. You got the NC State Wolfpack cooking in Raleigh. They have had 8 or more wins 4 straight seasons in a row. They avoid Miami and Florida State in ACC play. Their 2 toughest games are at Clemson, a team I'm clearly not a believer in, and home against Tennessee, a game that they could win in week 2. Like I could easily see NC State winning that game.
That's a fun week 2 game.
Yeah,
It is. It's on ABC at night too. Like that is one of the premier matchups that week. But they bring in Grayson McCall, the Coastal Carolina quarterback. That dude is sick. He has so much aura. I think Raleigh is going to love him. They bring in 2 safeties, one from Ohio State, one from Auburn. And they bring in Noah Rogers, a receiver from Ohio State that I think is going to be an absolute stud in the ACC for them. They also bring in a running back from Oklahoma, running back from Duke. Like they got a lot of talent in the portal already added to a team that's been good for 4 straight years. They avoid Miami and Florida State. I'm all in on them winning the ACC. I mean, their schedule plays out nicely. They got some talent. This coach has won 4 years in a row at a pretty good level in the ACC. So give me the NC State Wolfpack to win the ACC. I'm all in.
I actually don't hate that because NC State has been underrated. I mean, they were when they went to go play Clemson a few years ago, they were top 10 in the country with God, what was their quarterback's name? Something Lynch, I think. He was there
It
forever.
might have been was it Levis?
No, it wasn't Will Levis or not Will Levis or whatever. But
It was the guy that transferred from NC
yeah,
State.
whatever. They've had no, it wasn't Will Levis. This was a guy that was there for like 5-6 years. He was an older guy, but regardless, I mean they've had competitive teams, but I think you guys are kind of underrating Miami. Cam Ward went to Miami, and I think Cam Ward is the best quarterback in the ACC day one. If Cam Ward doesn't go to Miami, I don't think that it's Miami is going to be Miami. All their big games are at home. I say that all their big games in conference at home. They go to Florida week 1, which may be the biggest game in the country for the entire season, just because of where the 2 programs stand and where they were in the past. And they get where's Miami? They get Florida State at home. They play every year. Florida State's at home, and I know Miami doesn't have this crazy home field advantage, but it's a big difference between going to Coral Gables and going up to Doak Campbell, Florida State to play that game. And trust me, Florida State, Miami, there's some high level of hate in that rivalry. And for Florida State, shout out Mama Shields. Always have to shout out Mama Shields when you talk about Florida State. I think they're sorry, Mom. I think they're being slightly overrated because of their run last year. I think DJ Uyunglele, I know it's to say his last name now, it's not just DJ. DJ Uyunglele is a significant step down from Jordan Travis. Like DJ Uyunglele is the perfect game manager. He's gonna give you 21 touchdowns and 7 picks, which he gave you last year, 2,500 yards. But I think Florida State needs that elevator at quarterback because there's no Johnny Wilson, there's no Keon Coleman. They're both gone. They got new receivers. They have the JUCO transfer that I've seen. He's apparently lighting it up in spring practice, but I think they need an elevator, not a game manager at quarterback. But I will say this: know the name A.Z. Thomas. He's the corner for Florida State. Him and Will Johnson from Michigan are one of the 2 or 3 best cornerbacks in the country. Florida State secondary is crazy good, but again, I mean, they lost how many draft picks were on that team? They lost the edge rusher who's a first-round pick, who would have been a first-round pick 2 years in a row. Obviously, they hit the portal hard like they always do, but I still think Florida State is going to be competitive. I think they kind of take a step back. Clemson avoids Miami, which I think is big. Like they play Florida State, obviously they play Georgia. They go to Virginia Tech on November 9th. And this kind of goes into my sleeper. I think Virginia Tech could be a sleeper because they're another one of those teams that avoid FSU. You kind of look through the schedules. It happened with Louisville last year and Duke to an extent. Like if you avoid two of the 3 big dogs, like you have a chance to, make a run. And they avoid Florida State. They do have to go to Miami, but they play teams like Vanderbilt in the non-conference. Yeah. And they get Clemson at home. And Sandstorm against Clemson in a night game, if both those teams are good, that place would be rocking. And then, I don't hate Clemson going down, but I do think that they have too much talent. And Cade Klubnik, desperately needs to take a step. Lincoln Riley's brother is still, Garrett Riley, still the OC there. He was the big coaching coordinator hire a year ago, another year with him. I mean, he's 19 touchdowns to 9 picks, almost 3,000 yards. He needs to be significantly better than that. I know they have some big wide receivers that they love. And Phil Maffa, the running back, he's a stud. He can really play. But, yeah, that's kind of my preview of the ACC. And for winning it, I mean, I don't want to go with Miami because I really want Florida to beat Miami. And I know it doesn't matter because it's out of conference, but I really do think that Miami is going to be really good this year because they got the transfer class, they got the quarterback, they have signed a top 10 recruiting class too. But Mario Cristobal is a great recruiter. I'm still not sure of how good of an on-field coach he is. So I'm going to hesitantly pick Miami to win the ACC. And I still think Florida State's going to, win 9-10 games. Same with Clemson. Clemson more 8-9 wins, maybe 10 in a bowl game. But I'm going to tentatively pick Miami. And I hate Miami almost more than any school. My Miami hatred is up there with Florida State, Tennessee, and Georgia. But again, I think them getting Cam Ward was somehow went under the radar because he declared for the draft and then transferred to Miami. But yeah, again, my 2 sleepers, Virginia Tech and Syracuse. Cal McCord transferred to Syracuse, if you guys remember. And people want to make him the scapegoat at Ohio State. That's fine. He wasn't that bad. He'll be plenty good enough. And I read you Syracuse's schedule. I mean, just a joke schedule. But yeah, kind of maybe rambled a bit too long. But that's my little preview of the ACC.
Yeah, I mean, I've got some extra points just to give my reasoning, honestly, for why I had the order I did, and it goes back to the Florida State Clemson thing. So when you look at Florida State, I think that run they made last year, and I was a guy who thought they should have been in the playoff. I made that very clear. I think that's a team that's going to have some fire, right? They're gonna say, all right, let's go get revenge. And I think the portal is huge, and it is in sports. And so the fact that Dabo is, like Tanner said, just back in 2016 and saying, my way worked back in the day, why can't it work now? That's why I give the upper hand to Florida State. So Florida State is going to win the ACC, in my opinion. I think Clemson finishes second. The reason I have Miami finishing third is because I think they're plenty talented offensively. I think defensively is where I have a question mark because they lost so much in the secondary, after last season, that I kind of worry and have some question marks on their defense. So we'll see. But I'll give a sleeper. Tanner might be proud of me here. And my sleeper is the Cardinals of Louisville. I think I'm not in love with their schedule, but if you talk about the portal, they have the number 2 class transfer portal class in the ACC and 10th or 11th nationally ranked. So you're talking about a program that's basically hitting a reset. with Braum, and it's obviously starting off hot. They played good football last year. They had a tough schedule, and just played good football. And so I like the transfer portal for them. So I don't see them maybe winning this conference, but I think Louisville's going to be a tough team to beat. So
I like that. I like that. Tanner, I know you're miserable every time we bring up Braun because I think he's a damn good coach. I'm a little disappointed he left Purdue for your sake. But quick note, Tanner, before we go back to you, Florida State's schedule is fairly brutal for ACC standards. I mean, they get Clemson at home October 5th, big game, big game. At Miami, remember Miami avoids Clemson, so that's a little bit. Might have to double check that. I've checked that. I'm pretty sure they avoid Clemson. Yeah, they avoid Clemson. So Miami avoids Clemson, get Florida State at home. Florida State gets Clemson at home, goes to Miami, and goes to Notre Dame. I mean, that's going to be a huge game. November 9th, by the way, is a stacked weekend in college football. And then another sleeper could be Duke. I mean, they got not Malik Murphy. What's the Texas quarterback's name that played a few games?
oh,
Whatever, something Murphy. And he
it
went
is
there.
really goofy. It is
Yeah.
really
Anyway, the Duke coach obviously went to Texas A&M. He was a great coach at Duke. He's going to eventually do good things at Texas A&M. Hopefully not in year one because Florida plays them week 3. But yeah, I mean ACC, man, it's so incredibly average. How nice must it be to rebuild in the ACC? I'm serious. Like if Florida was in the ACC this year, they'd win 8 or 9 games. It's just fairly devastating that the SEC and same with Purdue. Yeah, same with Purdue.
yeah.
It is the SEC and Big Ten are just so up here, and then it's like Big 12, ACC. Do you see for the Big 12? I know this is kind of off topic that there's like no one with like crazy minus or crazy odds to win the conference. There's like 8 teams within like plus 300 to win the conference. It's just that's just insane.
Yeah.
But anyway, Tanner, if you have another sleeper or anything else you want to add.
Yeah, I'm interested to hear your thoughts on this. This is kind of how I have the conference categorized right now. Obviously, I have my champion NC State, and then I have in another tier my like 2 other like playoff contenders, which is Miami and Florida State. And then I have teams that are like good enough to make a run at the conference or college football playoff, but I don't think are going to do it. And that's Virginia Tech, Clemson. And then the other category, I have my other bowl teams with North Carolina, Louisville, Syracuse, and I have Georgia Tech getting into a bowl game this year. They've taken a step forward every year under that new head coach, year 3. I expect them to get 6 wins and find a bowl game. So that's kind of
like
how I
that
have
Georgia
it
Tech
geared up
one.
right now. Yeah. And
I really like that Georgia Tech one. Their quarterback is the Texas A&M transfer, and I'm blanking on his name, but he's been in college forever. He's played a lot of college football. I like the Georgia Tech one. Yeah, and not to mention, they go to Dublin to play Florida State in week 0. Like, that's a tough game for both teams. And if you're going to get Florida State with this new transfer class, getting them, James, you've done that flight, getting them 8 hours overseas off an 8-hour flight.
Yeah.
That's not something to sneeze at. That could be an opportunity there. I get Florida State with a bunch of transfers. DJ's first game. It could be my parents will be at that game, but it would be advantageous for Georgia Tech to take advantage. But Tanner, I love that tier list.
Yeah, well, last year Georgia Tech played Louisville week 1 in Atlanta, and Georgia Tech gave Louisville all they could handle. And
I
Louisville
remember that was the most random week 1 game.
Yeah. I mean, that was a hell of a game. Georgia Tech was a very competitive football team last year.
Yeah, they were, and I agree with you.
I'll say this final point that I got about Florida State. Obviously, I'm all in on the Seminoles for the ACC. Don't sleep on DJ. Don't do it, because this is a guy who, when he was at Clemson, like, here's a guy, right? Like when he was at Clemson, we thought he was going to be the next, right? It didn't pan out. Right? He transfers. It didn't really pan out there, but he played good ball, right? And now he's got a good system, a good core around him. He's back in the ACC. Don't sleep on DJ.
I just think that they're really going to ask of him at certain points to do stuff that he's just not comfortable doing.
Yeah.
And look, he's played a lot of football. DJ's a very good quarterback. He's an upper tier college football quarterback. But at the end of the day, I think Cam Ward is significantly, might be the word, better than him. And I think I think DJ's closer to Cade Klubnik than he is to Cam Ward in that aspect to kind of take that up next step. But Tanner, I really like the tier list that you gave. And North Carolina is a team that has kind of been relevant because of Drake May, and obviously Mac Brown is still there. That they could maybe still make some noise. I know Max Johnson transferred there, the LSU quarterback, if I'm not mistaken, the lefty. He can sling it. He beat Florida in the swamp in his first career start when Florida was #4 in the country, but the famous shoe throw game. But so yeah, Florida State. I mean, Florida State. The ACC is that weird conference because in the SEC, for example, like South Carolina isn't going to win the conference. Or like, what's another one of those schools? Like Kentucky isn't going to go win that conference. Or even this one, I could still see like even like Tennessee probably isn't going to win the SEC. But then you look at the ACC, you could look like, yeah, NC State could, make the championship and win. Syracuse, I don't think can win the conference, but if they went 11-1 because they're in their only losses versus against Miami because their schedule's so soft, they'd be like, yeah, they could be there. So yeah, it's one of those. Them in the Big 12 is one of those interesting, conversations. That's like, yeah. I mean, any one of these teams, that would be surprising. It wouldn't be as crazy as in some other conferences.
Yeah. I got one more thing to say. This is actually kind of crazy. When I was looking at NC State's odds this morning, their odds to win the ACC are plus 700, and their odds to make the college football playoff are plus 500.
Wow.
So just something to think about there.
Yeah.
A little bit better odds to make the top 12 than win the ACC.
Which is, it's not crazy because ever since divisional, I know ACC didn't have divisions last year, but ever since the divisions kind of went away, it's been harder for those teams to make it because NC State isn't a powerhouse program, and you always kind of give the upper hand to Florida State, Clemson, Miami, where other teams kind of come and go as the conference goes. But I mean, I could very well see Tennessee. I know the Coastal Carolina quarterback everyone thought was going to go to the portal 2 years ago. Stayed at Coastal Carolina, didn't have as good a year, then went this year. So I still think he could have a bounce back. But yeah, how good is it to talk football again? It's just freaking.
Now let's go talk about some pretty bad NFL football, right?
Yeah. So that's our ACC. I have Miami. James has Florida State. Tanner has NC State. James, do you have any other teams? I know we haven't done our full, top 12. Do you have any other ACC teams making the playoff?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the thing about it is I think a lot of us are still confused on how the playoffs really going to work. Like,
so I can kind of explain it. So
like, what's the committee truthfully going to do? Like, I know what layout is, but you can give it. Go ahead.
But anyway, for the playoff, the top 4 conferences, Big 12, SEC, Big 10, and ACC, they win their conference, they get a bye. It doesn't matter if NC State was Tanner, I could be wrong on this, but it doesn't matter if the NC State's ranked number 13th and they beat Florida State in the conference championship. I'm pretty sure the winner gets a bye, and then the top group of 5 champion gets in, and then those other 12 minus 5, those other 7 spots just go to the highest rated 7 teams. So yeah, that's kind of how it goes.
I would say I clearly have Clemson. I think they're going to be fine, but the thing is you look at these schedules and if they don't get into the conference championship game, then are they going to really be reasonable in those top 7? Because honestly, if you were to think about it, you're going to have, like you said, the SEC, no matter who's in that championship game, they're both in. It just depends on who gets the bye. It's the same for the Big 10. It's probably the same for the ACC. So there's automatically 3 spots. And then you look at the SEC, it's loaded. So there's going to be at least 2 more spots. So honestly, the most I think the ACC can get in is 3, but I realistically only see 2. And that
I only see 2. I agree with you. I think they
that
could
only
get
being Florida State and Clemson for me. So
yeah, just one final. This is my final thought. And it's kind of about Clemson. I think Clemson getting destroyed by Georgia week 1, like I don't think that does anything for them. I think Miami or Florida State beating Florida, that's better than Clemson getting destroyed by Georgia. I think NC State beating Tennessee, that does more for them than Clemson getting destroyed by Georgia.
That is a huge underrated week 2 game that I honestly didn't know existed until this moment. That's a great week 2 game. But Tanner, any other teams besides NC State in the playoff?
I'm going to pick one between Miami and Florida State, and I just trust Miami a little bit more with Cam Ward. So I'm going to go with Miami.
Uh-oh, we lost Johnny. Don't sleep on DJ though, Cheester. You're sleeping on him.
Dude, I took DJ last year and he just didn't do it for me at Oregon State.
I don't know. It looks like we hypothetically could have lost good old Johnny Shields there, buddy.
Sorry, we got it recording. We can get him back in real quick.
Yeah, I can edit this out. Johnny, where you at? Johnny.
There he is.
My Wi-Fi went out momentarily.
All right,
I switched over to hotspot. So James has Florida State and Clemson getting in. Tanner has NC State and Florida State. I have Florida State and Miami. I still do think Florida State gets in.
Yes, I have Miami, not Florida State.
Oh, my bad. So you have Miami and NC State. You better hide from Mom Shields when she comes to visit in the fall. But I have Florida State and Miami. I still think Florida State will get in. I think they're too talented in a weak ACC not to. And I think they'll win 2 of the Clemson, Miami, Notre Dame games. I think that'll be enough to get in. So, yeah, so I have Miami winning, Florida State as the at-large, I guess, which is crazy to say in college football. So I still can't believe it. Completely off topic. Did you guys see that they're trying to expand the college basketball to 72 teams or whatever?
It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
That's
not messing with college sports.
That's the one postseason you never touch is the NCAA.
Yeah. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. And I guess if they were
ran perfectly.
I guess if they were to change it, like 72 is better than like 96, which I saw was presented. But stop touching it. Like,
I'm sick anyway. We're gonna watching the Virginia Cavaliers score 36 points in the playing game. Like,
yeah.
And T-shirt doesn't want to see instead of Purdue losing to St. Peter's, they might lose to like someone smaller now. Like if they get 96 teams.
I don't even know.
Oh, that'd be funny.
But all right. Anyway, NFL time. We're gonna go AFC West for the NFL. For those watching at home that aren't familiar with the AFC West, it is the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Raiders, and the Broncos. And you could probably just hear by those teams that there is one team that is really good, and then 3 teams that are mediocre to below average. So let's just get out of the way with everyone's number 1. I think we all Kansas City winning the division. Is there any complaints there?
No complaints.
I will say that the Chiefs have had a very entertaining offseason with it seems like every single one of their players like getting arrested.
Yeah, I agree.
And it's kind of funny, but Patrick Mahomes is literally until I don't know. When we were going through the playoff run last year, I was like, I'm picking Patrick Mahomes against these teams because I trust Patrick Mahomes over them. But this is where it gets interesting. 2, 3, 4. Because we'll get back to Kansas City later because obviously there's a lot to talk about with them back-to-back Super Bowl champions. But 2 through 4, I mean, so when I was going through, I was like, oh, Chargers are definitely 2, and then I remember their wide receiver 1 is like Quentin Johnson, and he was awful as a rookie.
Probably
and they're
Josh
starting,
Palmer, but
and they drafted Ladd McConkey, but they're a run-first team. They're a run-first team that doesn't even have like an elite running back. I mean, they literally, I'm pretty sure there are 2 running backs. Is J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards are their 2 running backs. They literally just stole the Ravens running backs. So their skill positions are going down. And Justin Herbert's there, but I mean, he's throwing to freaking lawn chairs right now. I don't know how good Ladd can be as a rookie, but so who do you guys have? Do you want to go 4 and up, or do you want to go number 2?
I mean, I think for me personally, I don't want to speak for you guys, but I think 1 and 4 are very easy.
Who do you have a 4?
I have the Raiders. I mean, the Raiders are by far.
That's interesting. I don't have the Raiders at 4. I have the Broncos at 4. And because 2, 3, and 4. I have the Broncos 2, 3, and 4. That's what I'm saying. 2, 3, and 4 are so interchangeable. I think 2, 3, and 4 would be separated by like 1 or 2 wins. James, you say the Raiders. But Gardner Minshew led the Colts to however many wins last year, 5 or 6 wins. And I understand it's Gardner Minshew, but like it's also Bo Nix, the other starter. And Bo Nix is a round 2 quarterback that they got at pick 13 that they heavily reached for. And he's throwing they still have, God, what's the wide receiver 1's name? They traded Jerry Jeudy. They still have Courtland Sutton. But besides
Devontae
that,
Williams. Yeah. I'm just speaking names.
uh, you know what the Raiders have? Raiders got Brock Bowers. They got Brock Bowers. They got Devontae Adams. They got Max Crosby, Zamir White. So I think that,
That
and that also,
Zamir White's gonna be fire. I think he's
yeah,
gonna have a breakout year. I agree.
and they also signed Christian Wilkins from the line or from the Lions from the Dolphins. So I think their D line and skill positions are on the up. So I actually have the Raiders finishing second in the division.
I agree, John. I think
I
if
guess I
this
was totally wrong in speaking for you guys, so I'm so
Oh,
sorry.
I agree, John. I think if this division were to get like another playoff team somehow, it would be the Raiders.
Yeah.
I love the Gardner Minshew signing because he's one of those guys that like he's not going to put up crazy numbers, but he's going to win you ball games. Is he going to come out and win 12 games? No. He's going to win 7 or 8 games.
You can go 8 and 9.
Yeah, they still honestly get to see. I know you guys are gonna hate me for this. They still get to see what they have in Aiden O'Connell. He was
Don't
the
have
only
anything.
quarterback.
Aiden McConnell's like
He
47
has a
years old.
mustache, Tanner. That's all he has. That's all he has.
He's the only quarterback to beat Patrick Mahomes after Week 10 last year. So let's give the rookie a chance. Let's see, or not a rookie. Let's see what he has. And if not, it's not like Gardner Minshew's horrible. Still think the Raiders have a decent roster. I like the Raiders to finish second. I don't think they'll make the playoffs, but if this division were to have another playoff team, it'd be them.
Well,
I mean, do you guys remember like 2 years ago? Yeah, go.
I know you guys aren't big like betting guys or anything, but you guys are this big on the Raiders. There's some incredible value. I think they're like plus 2,000 to win this division. So,
Oh, I will not be touching that because they're not.
Maybe look at their win total. I don't know because if they're plus 2,000,
their win total, because I mean I still don't think they're like a 6-7 win team. So I don't know. I'm sure their win total is 5.5. So it's just the Raiders played kind of inspired ball under the interim coach last season, and then he got retained, and then I'm surprised they went out and signed Gardner Minshew because I don't know. I just would have let Aiden O'Connell ride and when he go get Shedeur Sanders or something at the first pick. But no, I mean, but like Gardner Minshew is gonna win you games, especially in this division. Like the Broncos, like for example, the Bucks get the Broncos in week 2 or 3. I'm pretty sure that's a great time to get the Broncos because Bo Nix isn't gonna know what the hell he's doing by then because in Oregon he's throwing those 5-yard outs and
dude, he's 25 years old. He's gonna know what he's doing.
I'm just
Don't
kidding.
sleep.
I'm just kidding.
You're sleeping.
How about this? This defines this division. What are the odds on the Chiefs to go 6-0 against the AFC West this year? Because that's
probably like minus 230. Because I would
probably like plus. They're probably plus something.
No way. Yeah, I mean this division. Do you guys remember like 2 years ago, people were saying this was the best division in football because Russell Wilson
thought it was, and I was one of those guys who was saying because of the quarterback.
Now, what a fall from grace! I'm looking at these depth charts, and especially the Chargers. I mean, they're kind of a dumpster fire outside Justin Herbert.
They're in shambles.
I mean, I think they did the right thing getting rid of their 2 top guys, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams did a good, getting out of those. But I definitely think that this is kind of a retool year for them. Maybe not a complete rebuild, but I mean, I think the Raiders, Chargers, and Broncos all finish within 6 to 8 wins.
I just don't understand how you can be the Chargers organization and say, yeah, we can get rid of Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Austin Eckler and be like competitive. Like you're not.
They were like also negative 80 in the cap space.
Yeah, so they had to, and I don't mind getting rid of Austin Eckler because saw a whole like YouTube video on Austin Eckler's regression. It was kind of sad how slow he got in parts of that last year. But so yeah, I'll just run down. Kansas City 1, Raiders 2, Chargers 3, Broncos 4. But again, those 2 through 4 are literally like 6 to 8 wins, if that. So I think 2 through 4 will be very competitive.
I got Chiefs, Broncos, Chargers, Raiders. So
see, and that's not crazy. So like you say that, I was like, I could see the Broncos winning 7-8 games also.
Yeah, and that's also like. I mean, I was looking at like Vegas odds and whatnot, and I don't love making my predictions based off Vegas, but like Vegas knows, right?
Vegas always knows something.
Vegas always knows. And for me, Vegas has the Broncos at plus 320 to win this division. So that's not great value with a team like the Kansas City Chiefs.
I would There's
So
great value.
So there's a reason. There's a reason why they're plus 320 and the Raiders are plus 2,000 for me. I think there's more question marks maybe for the Broncos because you have a quarterback who's literally we have no idea what we're going to get. Whereas you have Gardner Minshew, like you said, has taken any team he's on and played good football, truthfully. So no, I don't hate your guys' take. I guess I was just we did not have a good I did not read your guys'
We
minds.
weren't like me and Tanner are always locked in the
Yeah.
sense that we always are similar.
I'll look
but,
like the idiot or look like the smart one.
yeah,
I'm
I mean,
okay
it's
either
not it
way.
because we all at least Tanner and I have them within a win or two of each other, so it's
Yeah.
not a crazy. But like the Broncos' best guy, I think D-line O-line is so important in the NFL. I don't think it's a fact that it's important. And John Franklin Myers is the best D lineman that, or not best, but he's going to be starting for them. And I don't know if that's you can be a playoff team when he's probably your best guy. They do have Patrick Surtain, by the way, he's probably one or a top 3 NFL corner. He's a stud, but. Yeah, Tanner, you want to run down your top 4, unless it's the exact same as mine.
I'm gonna be totally honest here. I'm sick and tired of talking about 2 through 4. Like, can we just get to the Chiefs and their roller coaster off season? Because I'm loving it.
Yeah.
I'm loving Kansas City
It
right
was
now.
nuts. Talk about it, T.
Well, we got Rashee Rice, who has about 8 different felony charges, it seems like. And then they bring in Xavier Worthy, so it's like their receiver room. They got Rashee Rice, who was a stud, but as even
And Hollywood Brown. They bring in Hollywood Brown too.
and Hollywood Brown. Now they have Xavier. I mean, honestly, like those are 3 of the fastest guys in the NFL in their receiver room for Patrick Mahomes. Travis Kelce has been on the Eras tour with Taylor Swift all summer. So Travis Kelce's been living it up. Good for him. Their offensive line is still going to be mediocre. They still have Isaiah Pacheco. They still have Patrick Mahomes. They lose L'Jarius Sneed, which I think is one of their better players on the defense the last 3 years. Kind of a big loss, but with Trent McDuffie kind of elevating his play last year, it's like one of those things, do you really need to pay L'Jarius Sneed when you have Trent McDuffie on a good contract playing that well? They still have Justin Reed at safety, George Karlaftis, Chris Jones on the D-line. Like this Chiefs team is going to be prepared for the Super Bowl again.
Yeah, I guess we'll find out.
Yeah, sure. It's going to be very interesting to see. But we'll wrap it there. If you guys made it this far, leave a like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
Peace.